So even though Flipgrid's experienced a lot of growth in the last few months, some teachers might not know what it is. So could you just tell us a little bit about what Flipgrid is?
Sure, yeah. Flipgrid is a video-based discussion platform. So in Flipgrid, teachers create grids for a learning community. They post discussion topics, and then students respond to those discussion prompts with individual recorded videos. Now, all these videos by default are the same max video length. So what that does is it provides a platform to really equalize student voice and kind of democratize class discussion, because no one student is able to dominate the conversation. And it provides an avenue for more introverted students to present their ideas, their thoughts, their processes right alongside the more extroverted students that are generally raising their hand in class. It can fit into really any subject. It's used by millions of teachers and students around the world, everywhere from pre-K all the way through PhD level students. And it can really fit into any different type of subject. And more recently, it's actually started to be being used in a more social aspect, especially among teacher and educator communities. So we've got a lot of teachers that are creating grids and they're sharing them publicly, and other teachers are interacting with them and posting their thoughts on topics that are defined and stuff like that. So that's one of the key things about Flipgrid, is that a learning community can be set up as private or as public as the teacher or the admin of the grid decides.
Okay, awesome.
All right, so you had mentioned there several ways that teachers can use it. One of my questions, especially being new to Flipgrid and not having used it much in my classroom, is really for maybe newer teachers or teachers who are less immersed in technology, who may be more reluctant to use it with their students. I think maybe in terms of those teachers, they might feel like they're reluctant because they believe students it might give them an opportunity to play around, or something where they might lose some of the classroom structure that they like to have. Joey, what would be a response maybe that could hook some of those teachers who are concerned about, classroom control or classroom structure and ensuring the educational quality of Flipgrid?
Sure, absolutely. That's a fantastic question. And I think Flipgrid, really like any tool that you would bring into your classroom, is really going to be used as the teacher leads its use. So the value, we don't do anything content related in Flipgrid. So the value of Flipgrid really comes down to how the teacher wants his or her students to use the platform. So really asking a tightly defined question, but then also allowing students to let their true personality shine through is really where the magic happens in Flipgrid, because they'll see their peers, they'll see how their peers are approaching something, and they will start talking about this project they're working on or this math problem that they're trying to solve, and they'll start using Flipgrid the way they're using Snapchat, but for an educational purpose. So while there can be students that don't necessarily stay on task, I would say that that's kind of universal and not just to Flipgrid. Really, the key value to Flipgrid is that you're going to be able to see your students document their learning processes, right? And there's not really another great way to be able to do that via video in living color. And so what I would say is really it's going to be on the instructor to kind of set the table, to set expectations for how we're going to use Flipgrid, why we think it's going to be valuable, how we're going to interact with each other. And then always remember that the teacher has full control. So if a teacher was a little bit concerned about inappropriate content being posted or off-topic content being posted, there's a lot of things that he or she can do. So you can moderate the grid, which means that whenever a student submits a video, nobody sees that video, including that student, until the teacher has viewed it, approved it, and made it visible to the class. So if there is concern around staying on topic and on task, a lot of our teachers start off by moderating, and then after a few lessons and a few topics in Flipgrid, it becomes pretty obvious to the class what the expectations are for interacting with this tool, and it moves a lot smoother.
That moderating tool is very helpful.
Especially for, we have a lot of teachers, like I said, that share their grids on social media out in the open. So if you look up flipgrid.com/World Water Day or Earth Day, those are examples of very public ways that teachers have used Flipgrid, and they've connected with students around the world, which is incredibly valuable for your students to see this diverse set of perspectives and kind of increase their global empathy. But that's where a feature like moderate and making sure that the teacher that's organizing that has full control is really, really important.
Is there ever a privacy issue with that whenever they post these Flipgrids for everyone to see?
Yeah, so the way that, so if you go to legal.flipgrid.com, you can see our approach to privacy. We have everything in plain language, and we are a student privacy pledge signatory. Really, basically what we say is that the laws and rules of your school, district, community are supersede anything in our privacy policy. We will do nothing. We don't have student accounts, right? So we will, in any data or any content published to a grid is the property of that teacher, that student, that school, or that district as defined by your local jurisdiction. But that is a very good question. I know a lot of our schools, a lot of the schools that use Flipgrid do have media releases for their students. Other schools will make sure that every grid is private, is password protected and moderated, and is completely private from the outside world. By default, grids are private and they're not searchable. They have a random string of letters and numbers for their class code. And you can add a password on top of that. So by default, it is a very private community for your classroom, but there are definitely ways that teachers have made sure that the student privacy is respected as they use it in a more social platform or in a more social avenue.
That's awesome. No, the couple of times that I was able to use Flipgrid in my classroom, probably my biggest struggle was space. Because obviously if they're all recording at the same time, you get sound back and forth, and some of the shy students don't want to talk in front of someone. So I ended up just really probably annoying my colleagues and spreading them out down the hall and trying to figure out ways to do that during the school hours. So do you know any teachers, or have you come up with any answer to that problem?
Yeah, so there's a few different ways. How old are your students?
They're freshmen. They are 14, 15 years old.
All right, so sounds good. So there's a couple different ways that I know a lot of our teachers have gotten around using Flipgrid in their classroom. So I know, depending on the age, a lot of Flipgrid instructors are assigning Flipgrids as homework or personal device or library time. And again, because there's no student accounts in Flipgrid for classes with shared devices, it works perfectly. Like you mentioned, everybody can be using Flipgrid at the same time. They could pass around an iPad. It can get kind of noisy. So there's two cool things that I've seen some teachers do. One is there's an ed camp, I think it was in North Carolina, someplace on the East Coast, where they took an old refrigerator box and they made a Flipgrid recording booth. Really all it was like they put construction paper, green and white construction paper on the outside of this refrigerator box. They cut off one side of it and they put a little light in there. And you'd be amazed I think they were using iPads there. You'd be amazed at how much that cuts out the background noise and it really allows the message to be clearly recorded in the Flipgrid video. Another thing you can do is, actually I'm going to say two more ways. Another thing you can do is you can use pre-recorded video in Flipgrid. So there's a concept out there called app smashing right now, which is using multiple different technologies in a single lesson. So what a lot of our teachers will do, will have students maybe describe a project via voiceover in Adobe Spark, save that video, and then upload it to a grid, and then you've got this digest of everybody's projects right next to each other. So that's another way that you can use Flipgrid where you're not having students live recording there in class next to each other. And then the final way is they've got these really cheap microphones that are like 10 to 20 bucks. They even have one that looks like an old style phone. And it works flawlessly. You can have 10 to 20 students all recording at the exact same time in class, and the mic will perfectly pick up that one student's audio, and the background noise will just be pretty quiet in the background. So that's what a lot of our teachers have done, is like they'll get like 3 or 4 microphones for their class, and then again, because we don't have student accounts, they can just pass the devices around and kind of have a station for students to go record their Flipgrid responses.
Those are awesome.
We also do have a lot of teachers doing the Flipgrid Hall Pass like you've been doing. So
that's pretty much what I ended up doing, but I really like the refrigerator box idea. That is cool.
Yeah, if you search Flipgrid recording booths on Twitter, it was amazing. So that just got posted on Twitter. We had never heard of it. Like all the stuff that happens in the Flipgrid community is not our idea. It's some teacher comes up with an idea, because you all are the most creative people. You come up with an idea, you come up with a hack to make it work for how you want to work, and then it gets shared and spread throughout the community. And so now there's hundreds of Flipgrid recording booths, and they're all just old refrigerator boxes. It's awesome.
That is great. That is great.
Yeah, you can also use like a smaller box that's just a tabletop with the recording, like the iPad or the computer in that. That really blocks the 360-degree sound as well and focuses on the person recording.
Okay, those are great ideas. Thank you.
One thing I was really impressed with, again, kind of still being a little bit newer to Flipgrid than Michelle, is that like in the month of June, you probably know this statistic. I noticed on Twitter something like 10,000 or more teachers were added or certified maybe in using Flipgrid. Joey, could you tell us a little bit more about being Flipgrid certified, what it takes to be, Flipgrid certified, and maybe talk about some of the benefits of being Flipgrid certified?
Yeah, absolutely. So we actually just released the Flipgrid Certified Educator program about 2 weeks ago. Actually, I think the first day of ISTE, Monday, June 26th, was the first day we released it. So the statistic you were talking about for the month of June was 10,000 new educators just simply joining Flipgrid, Flipgrid community, signing up for an account. So we've just released our Certified Educator program about, like I said, 2 weeks ago. And what we wanted to do was, there's a couple of different things we wanted to do. First and foremost, we wanted to help new users very quickly gain a baseline understanding of A, the value of Flipgrid, and B, kind of the architecture and how it works. So, like I said, we're not a content provider. We're just a platform, and there's a lot of different ways you can use Flipgrid. There's a lot of different things you can do that new users may not know about. Now, it takes 10 minutes to set up your account, to create a grid, post a topic, and share it with your students. But there's a lot more things you can do to it than just that, like moderate, for example, that we just wanted to make sure that our users knew and understood. And then the second was we wanted to be able to fill a grid with really unique value-based ideas organized by grade level for how teachers have used Flipgrid. So that if a new teacher comes into the community, they can go to flipgrid.com/certified, and they can see hundreds of ways that other teachers have used Flipgrid in middle school, or hundreds of ways teachers have used Flipgrid outside the classroom, and so on and so forth. So it's pretty easy to get certified. If you're a brand new user, it shouldn't take you that long at all. There's 3 steps. The first step is that you have a Flipgrid account. You have at least 1 grid, 1 topic, and 10 video responses. So if you're on Twitter, you'll see a lot of teachers right now sharing out their first grid with the hashtag Flipgrid certified. They're leveraging their PLN on Twitter to help them get certified, to help them get those first 10 responses. And that's pretty cool because it gets a whole bunch of teachers helping each other out, building up this community, and then really understanding Flipgrid both from the teacher side and from the student side, because they're posting as students on each other's grids. The second step is that you post a video response in flipgrid.com/certified. That's where I described you share a video of how you're going to use Flipgrid in your classroom and what value it provided. And then the third step is passing a 5-question quiz. All you need to do is get a 5 out of 5. You can take the quiz as many times as you want. And those quiz questions are, all the answers can be found by exploring the teacher admin of Flipgrid. So there's no slide decks to go through or videos to watch, really. You just explore, you figure it out, you answer a question, maybe you get it wrong, you learn how to do it right, and then you answer it again and get it right. So really, kind of the benefit is that once you get certified, you've really got a pretty good understanding of the value and architecture of Flipgrid to be able to share with a peer or help a peer get started if they're new to Flipgrid. And it's just a good way to kind of get started. So you can find out all the information about the Certified Educator program by going to flipgrid.com/certified. And on that grid, you can actually peruse a bunch of different videos that teachers have posted about ways they've used it. So it's a great place to get started.
Okay, so I know you're probably expecting this question, August the 10th.
Yeah.
Some big reveals, some big announcements. What can you tell us about that?
Oh boy. So let me take a step back. So Flipgrid was actually created a long time ago, and a lot of people don't know this. So we were created at the University of Minnesota as a project in the College of Education and Human Development back in the end of 2012. So an instructional design professor named Charlie Miller was teaching PhD level instructional design students a design class. And he was also had received a grant and was traveling to these remote areas of the world studying how they approach education in areas that are more disconnected from larger metropolitan areas, right? At the same time, he was teaching this class of students in Minnesota, and he didn't want to lose that Socratic seminar style discussion that he really values in class and values in design thinking. So Charlie and one of his PhD students, Bradford Hosack, over the course of a weekend created this very rudimentary way for Charlie to post a discussion stimulus, and for students to respond with individual videos via their webcam, right? And that's how it started way back in 2012, and it kind of incubated as a project in the College of Education for several years before we became a private company, Flipgrid, in February of 2015. Sorry, my phone's ringing here. So every year in August, we launch what we call the all-new Flipgrid. And the reason we call it that, even though we're not launching out of beta and we're not completely redesigning Flipgrid, is because Flipgrid has these values of simplicity, of amplifying voice, of engaging creativity and strengthening community. And nothing, that will never change. The core of what Flipgrid will never change. But we believe that software is a living, breathing thing that needs to change as our community expresses different needs and desires. And so we really listen very intently to the wishes and asks of our community and the ways that they would like to use Flipgrid in their classroom. And so we really try to every August really release what we consider to be an all new version of Flipgrid that really is reflective of our community, of our Flipgrid ambassadors, of our certified educators, of all of our Flipgrid educators. So this August, to get around to finally answering your question, is going to be our biggest release yet. And we're really focusing on making improvements to Flipgrids in 3 key areas. The first is making improvements to the way that teachers and educators and admins interact with Flipgrid. The second is to make improvements to how a student interacts with Flipgrid to make it more streamlined and more fun for students. And third, and what I believe might be most important, is we're making a lot of improvements and updates to the way that Flipgrid can be used to engage with parents, with families, and with the community at large, while still protecting student privacy. So we've got a ton of stuff coming out in August. There really isn't any one key feature that's like stands out above and beyond the crowd. There is 100 new things that we're doing, but at the same time, if you've used Flipgrid for a few months, you're going to be able to log into your admin and still know exactly how to use Flipgrid. It's not gonna be confusing to use Flipgrid. Nothing's gonna have changed on your existing grids. And so we really try to ensure that we always protect the values of simplicity and power in every change that we make. So I'm sorry I couldn't really give you all that much information.
That's okay. We had to try.
Yeah, so check out Flipgrid 2017.splashthat, SPLASHTHAT, just how it sounds, .com, Flipgrid 2017.splashthat.com. We'll be live streaming all over the world. We'll actually have about 250 to 300 teachers in our office in downtown Minneapolis. So if anybody out there listening wants to attend, register right away before it sells out. We're going to have some guests. I don't know if this is public yet or not. We're going to have three partner guests that their name is very well recognized in the technology and education space that will be at our event and will be speaking on Flipgrid partnerships with their technology. I guess that's my, as coy as I can be to say that. And it's going to be an awesome time. So definitely recommend registering at flipgrid2017.splashthat.com. Check it out.
That sounds very exciting, and I'm so looking forward to August the 10th.
Oh, wait, one more thing. So this is really cool. So I haven't really talked about our Flipgrid ambassador community. So our ambassadors are longer-term Flipgrid users. They're basically the inner circle of teachers that really have a lot of experience with Flipgrid and are the voice of our larger community, so that we make sure that everything we do reflects what our larger community is looking for, right? So our Flipgrid ambassadors, a lot of them are coming to Minneapolis for the event, but a lot of them weren't able to travel, so they're organizing viewing parties. So those are popping up all over the country where teachers are getting together. I think it's at like 6 o'clock at night before the live stream starts, from almost like an ed camp, informal PD style idea sharing, and then they'll watch the live stream together at 7. And Flipgrid's supporting those, so we can provide a little bit of money for food and for drinks, and we can provide some stickers and stuff like that. So if you go to our blog, I think it actually might be the second newest post right now. I don't have the URL off the top of my head, but they're all listed. All the viewing parties are listed there, along with the chair of each location, so you can get in contact and go attend one if there's one near you. And if there's not, you can just schedule one. So if you're interested in scheduling one, email us party@flipgrid.com and we'll help you out.
Absolutely. And I think we may be doing that.
I think you should.
And we'll try to include a link. We'll look that up and include a link to that in our show notes. So
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joey. We had a great time talking to you.
yeah, sure did.
We're
Absolutely.
excited about implementing Flipgrid into our classrooms a lot more this coming year.
Awesome. Well, we are really, I mean, the Flipgrid Fever community, I don't know if you've all, I mean, I know, Michelle, you've been on Twitter quite a bit. The Flipgrid Fever community on Twitter is absolutely unbelievable. The way that they support each other and build each other up. I mean, the teachers that participate in the Flipgrid Fever chat and just like help each other get certified. It honestly, we are so appreciative of every teacher that decides to give Flipgrid a try and decides to help out a fellow teacher. We are very, very appreciative. We know how hard you all work, and we know how much you have on your plate, and to take time to talk about Flipgrid, to help each other out with Flipgrid, we're very, very appreciative. So thank you.
Thank you. I participated in a Flipgrid chat the other night, and I was exhausted whenever it was over and could not keep up. So many people with great ideas.
Yeah, so that one was pretty ridiculous. That was 30 minutes, fast and furious. So that's funny. So they go through participate to get the transcript, and apparently they can't provide a transcript if there's over 1,000 tweets in a certain amount of time, and there was over 2,000 tweets in 30 minutes on Flipgrid Fever. But I got to give a shout out to participate, because I just saw on Twitter, like right before we got on this call, that they came through, they figured out how to get it for us. So we've got the transcript we'll be tweeting out later today. But yeah, that was pretty amazing.
That's awesome.
It was intense.
Yeah, for sure. And there'll be more of those. So.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, thank you so much. And I appreciate you spending time with us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you both. I really appreciate it.